The Galaxy Council chamber was a place where words could start wars or end them. Rows of alien leaders sat in curved tiers, their eyes and strange faces turned toward the tall human in the center. Captain Elias Ward stood alone on the shining floor, his black uniform catching the light. His face was calm, but his voice carried something heavier than threat. It carried certainty. "This is humanity's final warning," he said slowly, making sure each word landed. "If the Ninth Fleet enters our borders, they will not return." A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber. Some alien delegates exchanged amused glances, their mouths curling into smirks. A few even laughed quietly. To them, humans were young and reckless, a species still climbing the first steps of galactic power. But one alien at the far end, a gray-skinned elder with silver ridges on his skull, did not laugh. His unblinking eyes stayed on Ward and his fingers tightened against the table. He had seen humans fight before. He knew this was not a bluff. The Ninth Fleet was the pride of the Council's military arm, a war machine made of hundreds of starships, each larger than a human city. Its admirals believed no enemy could stand against it. To them, humanity's warning was nothing more than a desperate bark from a small dog surrounded by wolves. "Captain Ward," an insectoid delegate clicked from its seat, "do you expect us to believe your primitive fleets could harm ours?" The question dripped with arrogance. Ward didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped closer to the center dais, his boots echoing in the silent hall. "We do not want war," he said, his voice even softer now, forcing everyone to lean in. "But if you bring it to us, you will not return to tell the story." Without another word, he turned and walked away. The great doors closed behind him, and the room erupted into heated voices. Hours later, deep in the void between stars, the Ninth Fleet moved like a dark tide. Massive cruisers, spear-shaped destroyers, and carriers the size of small moons glided through space in perfect formation. Their commanders had already received humanity's warning, but to them, it was a challenge they were eager to answer. "Entering human space in 10 minutes, reported a helmsman on the flagship Vigilant Dawn. Grand Admiral Xelthor, a towering reptilian with scales like molten bronze, bared his teeth in a grin. "The humans will learn humility, set course for their outer colonies. We will take their worlds before they know we are here." But far away, in a hidden control room beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Human Black Operations Command was already watching. The moment the Ninth Fleet crossed into the first human star sector, silent alarms lit up across dozens of underground stations. "GhostNet protocol active," said Commander Rachel Kane, her eyes locked on the floating holograms of incoming ships. She tapped a series of commands, and across the void, human stealth platforms woke from their decades-long sleep. On the edge of an uncharted star system, a lone human scout ship drifted in darkness. Its hull was scorched, lights flickering, as if barely alive. "Detecting small human craft ahead," said a Ninth Fleet sensor officer aboard the cruiser Iron Fang. "It appears damaged. Life signs minimal." "Fools," muttered the alien captain. "Tractor it in. We will question the survivors." But as the cruiser moved closer, the human vessel suddenly flickered and vanished. Not exploded, not jumped to faster than light speeds, vanished. Scanners showed empty space where it had been only seconds before. Confusion turned to unease. "Check the readings again," the captain barked. I can't," the sensor officer stammered. "The coordinates are gone. It's like it was never there." Back on the flagship, Admiral Xelthor dismissed the report as a sensor glitch. The fleet pressed forward, but strange things began to happen. Comms crackled with static. Navigation systems showed impossible readings, planets in places where no star charts listed them, corridors of empty space bending in ways that made no sense. Then came the first real fear. A destroyer named Swift Fang reported seeing human warships on long-range sensors, ships from the old war 2 centuries ago. Their designs were outdated, their hull numbers matching vessels long since destroyed. "They hailed us," the destroyer's captain said, his voice shaking over the open channel, "and they used our names." The feed went silent. No one answered their calls after that. In the council chamber, news traveled slowly, wrapped in secrecy. Most delegates still thought the Ninth Fleet was on schedule. Only a few suspected that the humans were not simply defending themselves, they were teaching the galaxy a lesson. And somewhere in the cold dark between stars, Captain Ward stood in the observation deck of a small human command ship. He watched the distant points of light where the Ninth Fleet had entered human space. "They think we're warning them out of fear," he said quietly to Commander Kane through a secure channel. "They don't understand we're warning them out of mercy." The channel crackled, and Kane's reply came back cold. "Mercy expires in 12 hours. The Ninth Fleet moved deeper into human territory, their formations tight, weapons armed but quiet. They expected resistance, maybe a few desperate skirmishes. Instead, they found silence. Space stretched endlessly before them, black and empty. No patrols, no colonies, no traffic lanes. It was as if the humans had abandoned entire systems before the fleet arrived. On the bridge of the flagship Vigilant Dawn, Grand Admiral Zelthor studied the latest scans. "No inhabited worlds within range?" he asked. "None," replied the navigation officer. "But sir, there are traces of energy. Discharges, recent ones. Human warships? Negative. The readings are inconsistent, almost artificial anomalies." Zelthor's scaled brow furrowed. "Explain." The officer hesitated. "It's like someone bent the light. I can't plot their exact position." Before the admiral could respond, the fleet's forward scout ship sent a strange transmission, a short burst of static followed by a voice whispering in Galactic Common. The voice was human, calm, and clear. "You should not have come." The scout ship vanished from all sensors a moment later. Unease spread through the Ninth Fleet. Captains whispered across private comms, their voices low. Some blamed malfunctioning equipment. Others claimed the humans had developed cloaking far beyond known technology. But a few remembered old stories. Tales of the Ghost Sector. Centuries ago, long before the Galaxy Council formed, a hostile empire had tried to invade Earth. They had sent fleets into a certain sector of space, and none returned. There had been no wreckage, no distress calls, just silence. Over time, the story became a legend used to scare cadets. Now, some wondered if they had just sailed into that very place. On the third day of their advance, the fleet's first major disruption occurred. The cruiser Stormbreaker, leading the left flank, suddenly altered course without orders. Its engines roared at full thrust, speeding away from formation. "Hail them," Zelthor ordered. There was no response, only a grainy visual feed from the cruiser's bridge. Its crew were standing, staring out the viewport, their eyes wide, mouths moving as if speaking to someone unseen. Then, one by one, they collapsed where they stood. Seconds later, the Stormbreaker disappeared from all tracking systems. "Was that a jump?" Zelthor demanded. "No, sir," the sensor officer replied in a hushed voice. "There was no jump signature. It's just gone." Meanwhile, far away on the hidden command station beneath the moon's surface, Commander Rachel Kane watched the feeds in silence. Each time a Ninth Fleet vessel vanished, another green light appeared on her private display, a quiet record of ships secured. "How many so far?" asked Captain Elias Ward, his voice low over the secure channel. 11 ships, no losses on our side." "Good, keep them inside the perimeter," Ward said, "and don't let them realize what's happening, not yet." But cracks were already forming in the fleet's discipline. The alien crews felt eyes on them in empty corridors. Strange noises echoed through ships even when all systems were off. On the destroyer Iron Fang, a maintenance team swore they saw human soldiers walking along the outside hull, without spacesuits. They moved slowly, their faces hidden, and when approached through cameras, they simply faded into the black. Some officers began locking their cabins at night. Others refused to sleep. At the end of the fourth day, the fleet's long-range communications failed entirely. They could no longer contact the Galaxy Council. They were alone in a region of space that felt wrong. Admiral Zelthor gathered his senior officers in the war room. "The humans are playing a game," he growled. "They want us afraid. We will not give them the satisfaction." Tomorrow, we strike their inner colonies directly. But one junior officer spoke up, her voice trembling. Sir, what if there are no colonies? What if we are already where they wanted us? The room fell silent. Outside, in the endless dark, hundreds of human stealth satellites adjusted their positions, closing the circle tighter around the Ninth Fleet. By the fifth day, the Ninth Fleet no longer moved as one. Formations had loosened. Captains no longer trusted the data on their screens. Navigation maps twisted and shifted. Stars that should be fixed in place seemed to move like predators circling their prey. Grand Admi Iril Selthor ordered all ships to keep visual contact with at least two others at all times. But even that proved impossible. On the cruiser Spear of Dawn, Lieutenant Varric stared at the main viewport, his scales glistening with cold sweat. Sir, he whispered to his captain, the ships, they're drifting away. Order them back into position, the captain said. I already did, sir, Varric replied, his voice breaking. Those are not our ships. When the captain looked again, he saw them too, shapes in the darkness moving like ships but lit by a strange, dull glow. No engine flares, no running lights, just silent shadows gliding closer. And then they vanished, leaving only empty space. Reports flooded in from across the fleet. Crews claimed to hear knocking from the outside hull. Engineers swore they heard human voices over internal comms, whispering their names. Some ships received distress calls from their own vessels, calls that had been sent hours after the supposed ship had already disappeared. In the black, reality no longer felt stable. On the flagship Vigilant Dawn, Xelthor stood over a tactical display. Glowing red icons marked the missing ships. There were too many now. We've lost contact with 22 vessels, his aide reported. No debris, no explosion. They're just gone. This is impossible, Xelthor growled. No fleet can take ships this quietly. His aide's voice dropped lower. Unless the stories about the ghost sector were true, Xelthor didn't answer. Hidden far from the alien fleet in the command station under Earth's moon, Captain Elias Ward watched the latest feed. His eyes were cold. They're starting to see the edges of the net, Commander Kane said beside him. Let them, Ward replied. Fear is the first step. The trap is the second. And the third, Kane asked? Ward's lips curved into something between a smile and a warning. The third step is silence. Back in the fleet, the destroyer Skyfang was the next to vanish. One moment it was flying in formation. Then without warning, all lights aboard flickered out. The ship drifted for 30 seconds, dead and cold. And then, nothing. The space it had occupied was empty. No jump signature, no wreckage, no trace. The Skyfang's wingmate screamed over comms. It didn't move, it was erased. Panic began to spread. Discipline broke. The cruiser Iron Fang turned its weapons on the darkness, firing blind at phantom shapes. The light from the blast revealed nothing, but moments later, the ship's hull sensors recorded heavy impacts, as if something unseen had returned fire. But no damage appeared on the hull. In the war room, Xelthor finally gave the order no admiral of the Ninth Fleet had given in centuries. We reverse course. All ships. Find a way out. His voice was iron, but deep inside, he already feared it was too late. For as the fleet began to turn, every escape vector collapsed on their star maps. The path behind them was gone, replaced by an endless black void. On the Vigilant Dawn's main view screen, a single human ship appeared in the distance, small, old, unarmed. It sent a final transmission, one line in the human tongue, translated into Galactic Common for every alien to hear. We told you not to come. Then the ship faded. Like a ghost sinking into the dark, the Ninth Fleet's retreat lasted less than an hour before they realized there was no retreat. No matter which way they turned, the stars ahead shifted into unfamiliar patterns. Entire constellations twisted and bent, forming shapes that didn't belong in any star map. On the cruiser Stormglaive, Navigator Sharon slammed her claws against the console. This can't be real. We plotted these routes ourselves. Where did the exit points go? Her captain leaned over the display, his throat tight. They didn't go anywhere. We did. Grand Admiral Zelthor stood on the bridge of the flagship Vigilant Dawn, his hands gripping the rail. "Report," he barked. "All escape vectors blocked," his first officer said. "Long-range sensors can't even find the edge of this region. It's like space itself has folded around us." "Folded," Zelthor repeated, the word tasting like fear. Far from the trapped fleet, deep beneath the moon's surface, Captain Elias Ward watched every movement on his holomap. Tiny red icons of alien ships glowed inside a shifting sphere of blue light. Commander Kane stood beside him, arms crossed. "The net is sealed. They have no way out." "Good," Ward said. "Initiate Phase 2. In silence, dozens of ancient satellites, hidden for centuries in the ghost sector, awoke. Each one began to emit a low, steady pulse. Aboard the alien ships, the effect was immediate. Crew members heard a faint hum through the walls, soft at first, then growing until it vibrated in their bones. On the destroyer Bladefang, an engineer swore he heard words inside the hum, human words, whispered in a language he didn't understand. Others claimed they saw human soldiers in the reflection of their own control panels, standing silently behind them, staring. Panic spread faster than orders could contain it. By the next cycle, 5 more ships were gone. Not destroyed, gone. One moment they were there, the next they had faded into a gray haze before vanishing completely. No explosions, no debris, no screams, just the silence. Zelthor convened his remaining captains through a private channel. "The humans have created a trap," he admitted. "This ghost sector is artificial." "Artificial?" one captain repeated. "Yes," Zelthor said. "This place doesn't exist on natural charts because humans built it. This entire region of space is theirs, and it obeys their rules." "But how?" another demanded. Zelthor shook his head slowly. "I think it's older than even they admit." Back in the command station, Ward listened to the intercepted meeting in real time. He allowed himself the smallest of smiles. "They're starting to understand," Kane said. "Good," Ward replied. "Now make sure they understand the last part, which is that understanding won't save them." As the Ninth Fleet prepared one last desperate push, something strange happened to the void around them. Points of light began to appear, thousands of them, until the darkness was gone. The fleet gasped when they realized what they were seeing. Ships. Hundreds of them. Alien designs from dozens of species, some so old they belonged to empires long extinct. Every one of them hung motionless, intact, and silent. And among them were ships from their own Ninth Fleet. But their crews were nowhere to be seen. In that moment, every captain knew the truth. This was not just a battlefield. It was a graveyard. The graveyard was silent, but it was not still. As the Ninth Fleet drifted among the frozen ships, their sensors began to detect faint energy signatures coming from the derelicts. Some were centuries old, yet their power cores pulsed like heartbeats. "Keep your distance," Grand Admiral Zelthor ordered. "Do not approach anything." But it was too late for the destroyer Blackscale. Curiosity, or desperation, drew it closer to a massive alien battleship trapped in the void. The moment the Blackscale crossed an invisible threshold, the frozen vessel lit up with a soft white glow. The glow spread across its hull in strange geometric patterns as if something alive was waking beneath its skin. Seconds later, the Blackscale vanished. No wreckage, no sound, not even a distortion on sensors. Zelthor's command channel erupted with overlapping voices. "Admiral, that wasn't a weapon. It didn't attack. It pulled them inside." Zelthor silenced them with a single word. "Enough." His gaze locked on the forward viewport where hundreds of dead ships now floated closer as if the graveyard itself was rearranging to encircle them. In the hidden command station beneath the moon, Captain Elias Ward watched the live feed. "They're boxed in," Commander Kane said. "Phase 3? Ward nodded. "Let them feel the weight." Without warning, the Ninth Fleet's internal systems began to flicker. On the cruiser Spear of Dawn, screens flashed images, old battles from humanity's wars. Alien officers saw human marines storming ships, firing weapons, dragging enemy commanders out in chains. But these weren't just images. The Marines looked directly at them. One officer swore he saw his own name stitched on a human soldier's armor, as if the humans had been waiting for him specifically. Crew morale collapsed. Some tried to flee in escape pods, only to watch the void swallow them before they had traveled a kilometer. Others refused to leave their quarters, whispering to themselves that the humans weren't killing them, they were collecting them. Selthor knew the truth now. This wasn't just a trap to destroy ships. This was a harvest. "They're taking us," he said quietly to his first officer. "Not our hulls. Us." His officer's frill trembled. "Why?" Selthor looked out at the graveyard, at the ships frozen in place for centuries. "So the galaxy remembers." The hum began again, low, steady, and inescapable. But this time every alien in the fleet could hear the words inside it, translated perfectly into their own language. "You were warned." In the command station, Ward stood with his hands clasped behind his back. "End it," he said. One by one, the ships of the Ninth Fleet faded into the white glow of the graveyard. No explosions, no violence, just erasure, as if the void was turning the page of a book and their story was over. When the last ship vanished, the graveyard went still again. Across the galaxy, the Ninth Fleet's signal went dark. There would be no rise, port, only silence. The news broke in the Galaxy Council like a thunderclap. For the first 3 days after contact was lost, the council chambers were filled with excuses, malfunction, navigation error, an unexpected wormhole. But by the 4th day, no one could deny the truth. The Ninth Fleet was gone. The insectoid delegate from Vestra Prime clicked his mandibles in disbelief. A fleet of that size does not simply vanish. Where is the debris? The wreckage? No one answered. The elder gray-skinned counselor, the one who had not laughed during Captain Elias Ward's warning, spoke at last. His voice was slow and heavy. "There will be no debris. They were taken by the humans." A chorus of outrage followed. "Lies! Humans do not have such power. If they did, they would rule the council by now." But the elder's words cut through the noise. They do not want to rule. They want to be left alone. In a hidden chamber below the main hall, the council's military advisors gathered. Maps of human space glowed red in the darkness. "If the Ninth Fleet is truly gone, our balance of power collapses," one admiral said. "And if we send another fleet?" asked a second. The elder shook his head. "We will lose them too. The humans are patient. They build traps that last centuries. They let their enemies walk into them willingly." While the council argued, rumors spread through civilian channels. Traders whispered about a star sector where ships went in and never came out. Pilots told stories of hearing human voices in deep space. Some claimed the graveyard could be seen if you looked long enough into the void, a faint shimmer of light hiding impossible shapes. In the command station beneath Earth's moon, Captain Elias Ward watched a secure transmission from the council chambers. Commander Kane smirked. "They're scared." "Good," Ward replied, his tone even. "Fear is cheaper than war." "Do you think they'll risk sending another fleet?" Kane asked. Ward's eyes stayed on the hologram of the graveyard. "Not yet. They'll tell themselves they can find another way to deal with us, but they'll never forget this." That night in the galaxy's core, the elder gray-skinned counselor sent a private message to Ward. It contained only 3 words: "I remember Earth." The next day, the council officially declared the Ninth Fleet lost due to navigational collapse. No blame, no open war. But in the unspoken spaces between speeches, everyone knew humanity's warning had been real. For weeks after the council declared the Ninth Fleet lost, the galaxy moved in uneasy silence. Trade routes reopened. Political speeches promised stability. But under it all was a quiet, constant fear. If humanity could make an entire fleet disappear without firing a shot, what else could they do? In the command station beneath Earth's moon, Captain Elias Ward stood alone in the archive room. The walls were lined with ancient data crystals, their surfaces etched with human and alien symbols alike. He approached one crystal, older than most nations in the galaxy. It contained the original schematics for the ghost sector. A voice came from behind him. "You've never told them, have you?" Commander Kane stepped into the dim light. "Told them what?" Ward asked without turning. "That humans didn't build the ghost sector." Ward finally looked at her. "No, they wouldn't believe it. And if they did, they'd never sleep again." The truth was stranger than any of the Council's theories. Millennia ago, before humanity had even reached the stars, the ghost sector had been something else entirely. A battlefield left behind by a war so old that even the galaxy's oldest races had forgotten it. Humanity had not created it. They had found it, and they had learned how to use it. Kane's voice was low. "Do you ever wonder who built it, or why it still works after all this time?" Ward didn't answer. Instead, he touched the control panel on the wall. A hidden screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the graveyard. It was not empty. Inside the frozen ships, behind the silent windows, figures moved. Not alien, not human, something else. They walked slowly through the corridors of the captured vessels, their shapes shifting like smoke, their eyes glowing faint gold. And when one of them passed close to the camera, it paused and looked directly at the lens. The feed went black. Ward stepped away from the console. "It doesn't matter who they are. What matters is they're on our side, for now." Kane stared at him. "And when they're not?" Ward didn't answer. Far away in the ghost sector, the frozen ships hung in their eternal orbit. But if you watched closely, if you were foolish enough to look for too long, you could see the faint gold lights moving inside, and you would know, without anyone telling you, that humanity's warning had been less a threat and more a mercy.